us. What my device will do is tell the body, hey, it's just coming from out there, ignore it. It's natural background noise. Again, because we can't get rid of this. It's here to stay. Technology's here. In time, I think the human body will naturally evolve on its own to not respond. It's going to take a long time, won't be overnight. So what we have to do is look at ways of protecting ourselves through means like I'm currently developing, or like Raven's method that will keep us balanced and in sync, where the body's going to go, okay, I'm in a natural state. I'm above, I'm below, I'm in the center, I'm above, I'm below, I'm in the center, and it's not going to respond to the external things that are trying to destroy it. On an emotional level, on a cellular structure level, on a physical level, all of it. And it's going to take more than just, you know, something like I'm creating, and there's a lot of other people creating some very wonderful tools to work with out there. I think what's going to be very important, everybody's different. It's like the people that I bring to the vortexes. One person will feel and respond in one way, another person will feel and respond in another way. All of that depends upon their physical makeup, as well as the emotional state that they're in. In like manner, some people can be exposed to high power lines, you know, like linemen that work around this stuff all of their life and they live to be 90 years old. Everybody's different. So there's so many techniques that can be used. There can be actual apparatus to help protect us, a vaccine, an electromagnetic vaccine, which is what mine is. And there are other methods to tell the body to do it naturally, which is what Raven does. And we need to we need to find what works for each individual, because we're all different. It all varies.
Are you at liberty to say what the name of your product is going to be? Or you have a name?
I was originally going to call it, I'm working on this with another gentleman, and it was going to be called the Harmonizer, but that name's already taken, so have to have a new name at some point. It's very good. I built one prototype, and it's incredible what it does. It literally couples into the body's electromagnetic field and nervous system, so what it produces reaches every cell in the body. And it tells the cell, don't respond, ignore all of this crap that's coming on you, be it the power grid or whatever. This device, people that are sensitive emotionally and their brain waves are locking into it, I don't know if my device will have an effect with that. That remains to be seen. Once I get more of them out there and I get them out to people and get some type of testimonials, because everybody's going to vary. You know, I can't make any claims it'll do this for everybody at the same time. We have to find out.
When you're doing tests with this, what type of equipment are you using to test, you know, people's response mechanisms or, you know, the effects?
Well, as far as being able to test people to see what it'll do for them, since I don't have people other than myself experimenting with them yet, it'll be what goes on with their brainwave activity, and more importantly than anything, verbalization. What do they feel? Is it having an effect? Does it have a calming effect? This particular device that I'm putting together will take our physical nervous system within the body and sync it with the planet. So the device I've created will take the body into the point of being connected to Gaia. And so it should be something that's real good. But there again, too, we've got to get them out there and see what people report on them. My device can be measured. It produces, I'm not going to go there. I can't yet. Not until I have it protected.
That's all right, no worries.
What were you going to ask?
Well, I was going to go into the Hartman Grid, you know, Curry Grid system, and is that too far ahead?
No, go ahead.
What is that? I've probably heard of it. I just can't put it with a name.
The Hartman Grid being the grid, Dr. Hartman back in the 30s in Germany discovered, you know, the Germans were doing a lot of research on dirty houses, and they found that the Hartman Grid was a grid that created, or it actually grids the Earth. It's an 8 foot by 6.5 foot, or 2 meters by 2.5 meters. It's golden ratio.
Okay.
Rectangle. that grids the entire Earth.
Okay.
They're about 8.5 inches to 9 inches wide. They do bend around things and different anomalies within the Earth, or I should say structures within the Earth can manipulate them. But then you have at a 45-degree angle to that, the Curry lines.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like it's like the information grid of the Earth, or the energy
Okay.
grid of the planet. So as we've been doing some studies with this, we have some thoughts that all this EMF smog, as it were, is being driven into this grid.
Oh, yeah.
Really affecting the pulse of Gaia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why she's one of the reasons why the planet's evolving, but she's also revolting. And it's to do with, like you had described it, the Curry grid, and what was the other?
The Hartman Grid.
The Hartman Grid. Yeah, they're right on the mark with it. I'm not familiar enough. I understand the concept of what they're doing, but I haven't researched them enough to really speak with any authority on them. Ley lines. Yeah, all of this. Everything mankind is doing on this planet not only affects us, it affects the planet itself. Periodically, I will have people that run across me out in the field, and I explain to them what I'm doing. Will ask me, how do we heal the planet? Well, don't worry about the planet, because she's going to send us the route of the dinosaurs. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Is it going to happen tomorrow or in our lifetime or 2012 or 2013? Heck if I know. But she will evolve to protect herself. And if we're able to evolve with the changes she needs to make to clean herself up, great. And if we can't adapt or move with it, well, we're going to go the route of the dinosaurs. And quite frankly, I don't blame her. That's one of my pet peeves. What we've done to this planet is terrible. It's terrible.
Can we talk a little bit about HARP and chemtrails?
Oh, a little bit about HARP and chemtrails. Why not? Okay, HARP. I know there's a lot of thought that HARP is being used to cause earthquakes and on and on and on. I do not agree with that. HARP, they call it effective radiated power. It's a heater. It heats up the ionosphere. HARP cannot be mechanically steered. It uses crossed dipole antenna arrays, a driven element crossed, and then a reflector underneath it. So it can't mechanically be pointed in different areas. They electronically can steer it through what's called phase shifting. They can change the phase on this group of the array here, this group of the array there, and they can make the beam that leaves it go in this direction or that direction. The energy that's emitted off the HARP array up into the atmosphere is, I forget what the effective radiated power is, 2 billion watts, 2 million watts, I don't remember. That hits the ionosphere, heats it up. Some of that will reflect back down into the planet. In my days as a ham operator, I used to communicate with other ham operators by bouncing my signal off the moon. I used the moon as a passive reflector and sent a signal to it and reflected it back. That took an effective radiated power of about 5,000 watts. HARP was as powerful as it is. The amount of energy that reflects off the ionosphere and comes back down and hits the planet is maybe 1/1000th of the power they emit. As far as I am concerned, HARP cannot create earthquakes. They are not out there doing it on purpose to mess with the American people. As an engineer, I can't fathom it because I know electronically how that system works. It's not powerful enough to make a fault shake and quake. That's my opinion. I just can't see it. Keep in mind, America is well known for its HARP. There are over 6 HARPs in other countries around the planet. Russia has a huge one. Sweden has one that lit the sky up in a blue spiral last year, whenever it was. They hit it with so much energy, it ionized and started igniting, I would guess, the nitrogen molecules in the atmosphere. That's why it was glowing blue. And oxygen. Oxygen, when it burns, will glow blue. So they hit it with such an intense field, they got it to ignite, and then they were playing with it, moving the array around, so you got this pretty spiral working up there. It's all part of it's experimenting with the atmosphere. Is it weather control? I don't. No matter what mankind tries today to modify the weather, it's not going to do any good because the planet is changing so much. She is changing her weather pattern. And there isn't a darn thing we can do about it. Gia's going to take herself where she needs to go. I personally feel there's going to be some major stuff coming. Now, people that have heard of the sky sounds that have been real prominent over the past year, in my opinion, and another scientist, I forget where he's from, verified it too, there's a thing called infrasound. It's not necessarily something when we're talking audibly, we're producing audio sounds. Infrasound is a little bit different. The core of the planet, and I tend to agree with this, our core slipped. The internal part of the planet. Science speculates, geophysicists, whatever, I've heard it speculated instead of having a solid iron core, nickel iron core, they think now it might be a double terminated iron crystal. Whatever it is, they feel that the core has shifted and the molten area in the crust has moved in relationship to the core. And that produced an infrasound sound that people are hearing coming out of the sky. And to me, it makes perfect 100% sense. It's not Gabriel blowing his horn or the end of days. It's the planet. Gia is evolving. She's changing. That's part of it. Will that create earthquakes? Yeah. There's going to be more natural earthquakes than HAARP could ever dream of creating, if they could. And personally, I don't feel that they can. I just don't buy it. There are other systems on the planet with other countries, to the best of my knowledge, have higher output effective radiated power than what HAARP does. HAARP is a peanut whistle compared to what some countries are playing with. So I'm not a proponent of going HAARP, HAARP, HAARP. I'm not. Chemtrails. If you would have asked me a year ago, chemtrails, I would have went, nah, they don't exist. Well, I started watching the sky a little bit more, and I usually do, and I'm going, okay. The little limited knowledge that I have with it, I've seen reference on the internet to a company called Evergreen, and it's my understanding they're putting aluminum sulfate, strontium-90, and why strontium-90, I have no idea. Strontium-90 exists naturally on the planet, but in low volumes. The aluminum sulfate would be to help shield our planet against whatever the sun's doing. Now, not only do we have to worry about UV radiation, some of the satellites are reporting now that the sun is putting out more radiant heat. It's getting hotter, putting a lot more out. Is this just part of the 11-year cycle that it goes through? We'll find out in 2013 because that's when it's going to be hitting its major peaks. Is each cycle going to become greater? Is it going to become hotter? Is it going to throw more UV radiation at us? Possibly. We won't know until it happens. The aluminum sulfate, the chemtrails, what they're spraying up in there, from what I understand, is to help reflect some of that energy away from the planet so it fends off global warming and doesn't make it more uncomfortable for us. Is there more to it? I have no idea. And I don't even want to speculate on it because bottom line, I just don't know.
In line with that, kind of back to a statement that you made before about the global warming aspect of things, do you see that global warming is more of a natural cycle? Because you've obviously been able to measure it through your Schumann frequency development, or as opposed to, man's obvious screw-ups. We're not doing a very good job.
My thoughts on global warming. The planet is doing what it naturally has always done, but I personally feel we have sped up the process. We've accelerated it. Back in, I forget what year, the 1200s, 1500s, I don't remember, Europe went through a mini ice age. And it came on very abruptly. It was just boom, it was right there. And that was way before the Industrial Revolution, so it wasn't man-induced. It was something that just happened with the planet. Or something impacted us from off-planet that created the situation. There's so many things going on. So this, my opinion, the planet is warming. Some parts of the planet are warming, some parts of the planet are cooling. Overall, it's warming, and we have accelerated it. That's my personal gut feeling with it. We haven't done it any good. This warming cycle should probably have taken about 100 years, and what we've done to Gaia has accelerated it to what takes 100 years probably happens in 5 now. And it's a direct result of what we're doing.
Can you elaborate a little bit on this frequency of 8 hertz that you talked about that's here, particularly in Sedona, but I think you also mentioned it's coming off planet.
Yeah.
And have you been able to triangulate its origin, at least from
I haven't been able to triangulate because the system that I use is kind of a one-of-a-kind. There's 2 other people that have one as large and built to the scale mine is. One of the guys is in Australia, and the type of research I do, which is fringe science, he just kind of goes, "You're nuts." So trying to get him to use his equipment over there where we could triangulate the signal that may be coming from off planet and find out the source. There's not enough of my systems out there where I could do that, and I would love for there to be. Building one of these things, just the coil, the magnetometer sensor, which is 6 feet long, weighs 65 pounds, and has 130,000 turns of wire on it, took me 3 months in a garage on a homemade lathe to put all of the wire on it. It's a major undertaking. If you pay to have it done, well, it's going to cost a lot more unless you know somebody with a machine shop with a huge lathe where they could chunk the rod up that all of the wire gets wound on. So it could be done. I have enough material to build 3 more of these systems. I just need the time and the months to put them together. That 8 hertz signal that I record in Sedona, that I said is also seen and has been recorded by a friend at the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's also been recorded at Stonehenge and another place in Norway. I think it's Norway where they have a lot of earth lights. It's been seen there too. So yeah, if there were about just 2 more systems like I have placed on different parts of the planet that receive this, we could triangulate it absolutely and figure out where its source is, be it in planet or off planet. Another thing with Schumann resonance, and the first resonance in particular, and a lot of scientists call this too. The first Schumann resonance, they call it the heartbeat of the planet. To me, it isn't. It's her voice. Schumann resonance is her voice because it's not emanating from the planet. It emanates from the spherical cavity formed between the surface of the planet and the D layer, which is anywhere from 60 to 90 miles above it, depending on the time of day. If you look at a bell, and you take the clapper in the bell and you strike it to one side and the bell rings, the shape of the bell and the hollow cavity inside is what determines the frequency it rings at. In a nutshell, what Schumann is, you have the planet that is a particular shape and a particular mass. Above that, you have the D layer, which is also a sphere, and it's reflective. So you have the planet, you have the outer D layer sphere, and all the area in between is a spherical cavity, a hollow cavity. At any given time, anywhere on the planet, there are at least 200 lightning strikes per second. The lightning strikes act as the clapper in the bell. They ring that hollow cavity formed between the D layer and the surface of the planet. That cavity rings. I've recorded 8 Schumanns. Mainstream normally says there's 7. They've always speculated it goes on to infinity. Octave higher, 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 and on it goes. I've seen 8 so far with my equipment. I call that Gaia's voice. That's her singing, because it's not from the planet. The planet itself has a resonant frequency, and if you base that on its solidity and the mass of the planet, it's closer to 10 cycles, 10 hertz. That's why when I first saw the 8 hertz signal, I went, it's kind of a high Q, meaning it takes up a very narrow bandwidth. I thought it might be planetary based, but it isn't. The planet is higher, more like up at 10 cycles. If anybody ever did some studying on Tesla when he created the artificial earthquake out on Manhattan, he took his took a primary coil and put it to, or inductively coupled it to, a metal pole that went down in the bedrock in his little apartment building, and he that's key, resonant frequency, key term. He resonated that pole at the Earth's frequency, which caused a mini quake in it. And the cops came and destroyed all his equipment and confiscated it for it. So the heartbeat of the planet, in my opinion, is closer to 10 cycles. That is Gia's actual physical manifested beat. That's the rhythm to it, 10 cycles. Schumann resonance, that is her voice. Because hopefully I'm making sense with that. So at any rate, I don't like to call Schumann resonance the planet's heartbeat. It's more like her voice. Okay, got to shift thoughts here. I'm losing it.
That's okay.
I want to double check. I know, do you have a few scientific technical questions?
Well,
And Dad
yeah.
has a few more. I wanted to, in a minute, when I just want to make sure everybody has all the science questions that they want to answer, and then talk about ETs and all that fun
We like
stuff.
ETs.
But I want to get all the technical stuff. So did you have anything specific?
Well, I just, when you're doing the 8 frequencies and you're doing all the testing, did you come up with any other examples? Because there's, like, you're talking about Russia and different people that are doing their own studies. I'm just wondering if you've come across any negative frequencies that are there that you haven't been able to explain, that somebody might be generating.
You mean bad frequencies?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
Let me put it to you this way, and I don't put this in it.